Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Future Dimensions 360. As you guys know, in our last tutorial we had talked about functional component. In our current tutorial we will be talking in detail about class-based components. What are class components? Class components is nothing but just a JavaScript file that is extended with a React component file and take properties or props as an input and HTML we have to return as an output. Any kind of class that is extended with component class taking props or properties as an input, returning an HTML from render method is known as class based component. There is one extra functionality in class based component that make this component as rich or complex component is known as state. Every class component have their own state, so you can manage, you can maintain every class based component state by their self within the component by using couple of class lifecycle method. Class lifecycle we will be discussing about in detail later on in the upcoming videos. Let's move ahead and try to create one class component. Let me move to my visual code. As you guys know, this is the same way our last where we left our project in our last tutorial, and we will be moving forward and trying to creating one class based component. Here in my component folder I'll be creating one new file. Let me call it as welcome message welcome.js. So there is one shortcut to create class based component in visual code available, that is RCE. You can say RCE and hit enter. It will create a basic class based component for you. What it will do is it will import React and then component class from React. Then it will create a class welcome and then extend that class to component folder, and then it component class, sorry, it will return a render method in which it will return an HTML. Let me call it h1 tag, this one as well h1 tag, and I will say welcome from class component. Okay, so right now my class component is ready. I had exported the component in default, and let me remove this export from here. It's better to export simply with default. That's it. And yeah, the component is ready, but it's not connected with my application. For making a connection with my application, I must go in my app.js file and I have to import that component here. By using import keyword I can import the component import welcome. As you guys see, like, it is giving me a hint. I just click on enter and the component is imported directly. Let me move ahead down to hello and declare this function or nested a pass nested function to my app or root component. So as you guys see, my class based component is created and linked with my app component already. Let's go ahead and try to run this project from terminal. Sudo npm start and see how it will work. Let me give admin privileges. So as you guys see, my application is up and running, and you can see I am seeing another message, welcome from class component. Very basic, very easy how to create class component. Let's go ahead and try to recall it. This is my hello component that we have done in my last video, that is functional arrow component. We had exported it in very simple way. Import react constant hello equals to arrow bracket, and then in round bracket we had written an HTML. In my welcome component, this is class based component. I had created a simple JavaScript class, extended it with component class from the React. We had imported on top, and then we had declared a render function. From there we are returning an HTML. So let's see how we can, what are the differences between class based component and functional based component, and where to use class based component and where to use functional based component. So let's move ahead. See, functional versus class based component. Functional component are very simple. As you guys know, as compared to classes, functions are always easier in writing, in understanding. The code is not complex and functional. So I recommend always to go on with functionals after the React hooks launch, or React have updated hooks inside functional component. I always prefer to go on with functional component. This is my recommendation. Some of the developers, they are using class components as well. It's basically depend upon the demand. Like the solution that you are going to do, it's actually dependent on that. Let's discuss more, like, what is the advantage of functional component. Like in functional component, you know, don't need to use a lot of this keyword. In class based component, you have to access everything with this keyword. Solution is all in functional component. Whenever you are doing any kind of solution, you have to find a way to do a solution without states. As much as states you will make in your application, it will become more and more heavier. So this is a positive point of functional component as well. It's mainly responsible for UI. You can make your UI in very small chunks as well using functional components. So like I can say that functional components are stateless, dump, or presentational components. Let's move ahead and check class-based components. Class-based components are very rich in functionality. Why? Because they are storing their private states. Every component have their own private state or their data they are storing inside the component. They can handle very complex UI easily by using the lifecycle hooks. That lifecycle hooks we will be discussing in detail about it in detail in our upcoming videos. For the meantime, let's neglect it, but it's very useful in class-based component, and you can say it's a stateful, smart, or container component. So where to use functional component? If you have a very small application or the part of UI you are going to make is very simple, there is not too much complex functional states inside it, so you can use functional component and handle the UI easily with functional components. There are some scenarios always coming in terms of coding where your hands will be binded with class based components. Like you have very complex state, you have to store a lot of data in the class component, you have to manipulate and manage a lot of data inside the state, so you must go on with class based components in that. Let me move to my Visual Studio and see here in this render method I have a return statement that is returning h1 tag. It's look like it's a HTML. So let's talk about this is in actual or React.js. It's not an HTML. It's a JSX. Let's go ahead in our upcoming tutorial and talk about JSX in detail. Please don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. See you soon inshallah in the next video. Allah Hafiz.